Welcome to a present from the past.
The show for all your paranormal needs.
Your host, Weldon Trantham.
Welcome to a present from the past, podcast show about all things paranormal. As always, this is my co-host Natasha,
Hello, everyone.
and my name is Weldon, and we will be discussing Black-Eyed Children, or the legend of the Black-Eyed Children, the folklore, the stories, the whatever you want to call it. And after that, we're going to kind of discuss a topic about how can you tell if an entity is maybe not necessarily evil, but hurtful or harmful, or, something of that nature. So, have you heard of the Black-Eyed Children?
Yes, I have. I have heard of Black-Eyed Children.
Have you seen any?
I can honestly say, no, I have not, and probably a good thing.
I've probably given a couple of black eyes when I was a kid, but not like
right.
nothing like this.
Right.
So I'm going to recall the story, the one that I read from memory. There was a gentleman that was in his, well, first of all, the first time I heard about the Black-Eyed Children, I always thought it was an old folklore from like Europe and been around for centuries, and that was just kind of the vibe I got from the first time I heard about it. And I was like, okay, no big deal. Folklores happen all the time. Like you have banshees in Scotland and England, and so you just kind of okay, yeah, whatever. But when I actually started looking into it, found some interesting stuff out, and that mainly is this strikes a little closer to home.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Than I would have ever expected.
Close to home and not that.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah, not that.
I thought it was like centuries ago, and it turns out the first story of Black-Eyed Children came from 96.
96 is when he reported it.
Yeah. And so it was a guy that was parked in a parking lot. He was fiddling around with paper or something, and he had like something walk up to his window, and it looked like two little kids, and they were asking for a ride home or something like that. And he said at first he kind of, whatever, and then he turned and started talking to him, and he said he just kind of like locked in. And it wasn't until he broke eye contact with them that he realized that their entire eye was solid black.
Wow.
And I mean, these were kids that were 10, 11, 12 years old, and the other one was even younger. And so he said like a complete feeling of fear just rushed over him like he had never felt before. And that was pretty much the end of the story from what I heard. I don't know if he drove away, if he left the kids there, if he gave them a ride home, or whatever.
I have actually heard of that story. Yes, it happened in Abilene, Texas. I happened to live in Abilene for a couple of years.
I've driven through Abilene many times. I got family land out in West Texas.
Right. So when I read this, I had already moved back to the Metroplex, and so I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like that really happened. Oh my goodness. But yeah, he was sitting in the parking lot writing a check.
Okay.
And I do believe I know where the location is, but I couldn't I can picture where the location is. I couldn't just tell you streets or anything like that.
Right.
And these children just came up and knocking on his window. He opened it up. And they asked for a ride. And like you said, there was that dread, something's not right.
Right.
He did end up leaving them there. He did not
take them. You leave two kids just stranded in the parking lot? Oh, I'm going to take off. They're scaring me. Come on.
Well, I think I would have too. I'll just be honest.
Well, yeah, if you got something staring up at you, pale white face and just black eyes, just, yeah.
Right. Right.
No, I'd be like, get away from my car. Step back.
And there was another story. It just seemed like after that more occurrences
Right.
happened.
Right.
Um, here, somewhere in the United States, there was a couple, and there was a knock on the door, and apparently there's three knocks, and they asked to come in. Of course, the three knocks represents the Trinity.
Right. Right.
And they opened the door and they asked, "Can we come in? Our parents are on their way. Can you let us come in?" And so one thing that they do is they ask to be invited in.
Right.
So that's the thing. Um, so they let them in. It was an older couple, and they gave them hot chocolate. It was a cold day, obviously, and one of them asked to go to the bathroom, and strange things were starting to happen. The lights went off, and then they said, "Oh, they're here," and the kids walked out, and there was two men standing at the end of the driveway, and of course, they're waving goodbye. The elderly couple waving goodbye to the family, and they didn't wave or anything. They just turned and left. Shortly thereafter, because this is one thing that these children supposedly bring is evilness and mayhem and destruction, and so three of their four cats died, and right after that, one was like mutilated.
Wow.
So there were strange things that were happening right after that.
And see, when I did my research, the only thing I could find is other stories of black-eyed children knocking on doors and asking for help or asking to be let in, like you were saying. But I didn't find any of them where they actually talked about something happening because someone let them in. So yeah, that's normally a dead ringer when something's wrong. I don't know, it's just creepy.
Right. And of course, then it has now spread to across Europe.
Yeah.
So it's, gone across the ocean, and now it's in Europe. And what some of these people think that they're being conjured up from witches and warlocks, that they're being conjured up, and they are obviously doing the devil's work, is what they would say. And then they're like, well, are they truly children, or are they being possessed? Are they children being possessed? So you have that.
There's a lot of missing children every year, so there's no telling.
You know what? That is true. You never know.
Yeah,
so, not putting anything out there, but it does kind of make you wonder.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's like another story that I'm gonna do a little bit more research into, but I want to talk about it eventually. It was called the Fang Baby. And supposedly it happened somewhere here in Texas.
The Fang Baby. I haven't
down
heard
in San Antonio or something. And something about a guy was driving along the road, saw like an infant baby in the middle of the road, and it was like pitch black out or whatever, and he gets out of his car and goes to see what's going on, and the baby looks up at him and has fangs like a vampire.
Oh my goodness.
And he said he just freaked out and ran off. Like, either it really happened or somebody was on some really, really good drugs at that time.
Right.
No, like I said,
wow.
Shane, put your hand down. So that's a story I'm gonna have to look into and give more information on. But yeah, that picture right there, that's creepy.
That is creepy.
That's
that is creepy. Yes.
Yeah. And I could have swore there was like go back up.
There
was like a movie.
Yes. It was a horror film titled Black Eyed Kids that was produced in 2013? Or no, I'm sorry, in 2012.
I don't know. When it comes to paranormal stuff, that's like the one thing that probably scares me more than just about anything is children. I don't know why. But it's like, you know, the old saying, it's like if you're at home alone in your house at 3 a.m. and you hear a child's laughter and you don't have any kids, that
Hmm.
would freak me out more than anything else ever.
I would have to agree with you there. Yes, I would.
It's like a child giggling running down the hall. Nope, nope. Peace out. You can have the house. Bye.
And I'm wondering if it's just because, like in films, we use children as a conduit, you know, that represents evil, that the devil works or in with children. I don't know if that makes sense, but he uses them because they're that innocence. They're
Yeah,
looked upon as being innocent and
the pure
carefree, and then you
yeah.
have something controlling.
That that's scary. I mean, all right. So story time.
Okay.
Like I go to haunted houses on a regular basis. I try to get to at least one or two a year every October.
Hmm.
And I've been to so many haunted houses that I almost walk through critiquing them now.
Oh, uh-huh.
It's like, yeah, that wasn't scary. You need to work on that a little bit.
That's why I won't go. It's because I've been to real haunted houses.
Right.
This is nothing.
And then you walk up on one of their little, skits or whatever, and you're like, that's not real blood. That's terrible paint job there. And the only thing, there has been two times I have been completely freaked out in
Hmm.
haunted houses. One of them, you walk into a room or a haunted house that was supposed to be a funeral home,
Okay.
and there's like this strobe light that's going,
Hmm.
and it speeds up, and there's a little girl that's probably about 10 years old standing there in a white gown. She looks up at me and my friend. She goes, "Have you seen my mommy?" And it flickers and she's gone.
No way.
I don't see any curtain movement.
Wow.
I don't see anything where
Nothing.
she could have escaped to. I almost ran out of there. And that was right at the entrance.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
like we got later on into the haunted house, and there was
Hmm.
actually an area where the room was being pushed down onto you where you could barely squeeze through. That didn't scare me as much as that little girl did.
Well, yeah. As soon as she disappeared, that would have done
And
it for
then
me.
there was like a little bitty haunted house that was put together. A guy did it. I think it was in a like a auto shop or something,
Hmm.
and he had his kids help him out
Okay.
because neither one of them were over 10, 11 years old.
And I'm sure they had no choice anyway.
Yeah, probably not. But you walk into this one room and there's a bed set up and there's a woman lying in a bed screaming. You can see the fake entrails and everything hanging out. And
Hmm.
you see a boy step out of the, like I said, under 10 years of age,
Hmm.
step out of the doorway, looks at you, starts screaming, like, get out of here. And he walks towards you and reaches up, and there's like a foot out from under the covers,
Right.
and he grabs it, and the foot comes off. And he's walking at you, screaming, carrying this foot, and you're like, okay, that's pretty creepy. And then you start to make your way towards the exit of the room,
Hmm.
and there's a girl contorted up on the floor, like what's that movie? That creepy movie with the
Oh yeah, The Ring or something
ring.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and oh, you had to step over this little girl to
No.
get out of the room. There
No.
was no way to get around her. You had to step over her.
No. No. I would have kicked her first out of the way. Sorry.
See, I'm not that mean. But yeah, that was the two times I was most freaked out
Hmm.
by kids in a haunted house. Now, being in an actual haunted house for doing anything with ASAP or
Hmm.
any other paranormal investigations, I have not encountered a child spirit that made me fear it.
I'll be honest, I have not either.
I mean, I've come across playful. I've come across one that was showing concern about an area,
Mm-hmm.
but not one that just made me completely fear anything.
Right. And it could be too the type of cases that we
Generally go on.
go on.
Yeah.
If they say anything about demonic, we don't deal with the
Yeah.
demonics, possession, anything like that. Um, our group is just not equipped for that.
Yeah.
And
well,
that's
I'm sorry.
something. I mean, I'm interested in, like, to study it, but I'm not
willing to partake.
No, I'm not willing to fight it unless I have to. But
yeah, and I'm kind of in the same boat. It's like I've had my experiences with it when I was
Mhm.
younger, and that's all I needed because, unfortunately, to this day, I still feel like every now and then I feel that presence around me,
right. Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's not, it never goes away.
Right.
And
Yeah.
matter of fact, me and my sister, who was one of the other people that was exposed to this presence,
Mhm.
and I'm talking about, I'm 40 years old now. This was when I was 7 years old, so this was 33 years ago.
Mhm.
God, I just made myself feel so old.
Well, I won't even say my age.
But we were talking about it, leaving my brother's house, and out of nowhere, this car comes out, cuts us off, and almost runs us off the road.
Mhm.
And immediately my sister said, that's because of him.
Wow.
So it was like instant feel that it was because of what we were talking about. It was like, hey, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, it could have been a coincidence, but something in the feelings of happening to be talking about him,
Mhm.
and then something crazy happens that, almost got us hurt.
Right.
So we put two and two together. And I mean, I don't like dealing with demonics or that part of it at all.
No.
Which,
That is a spiritual, physical, emotional, psychological warfare that
you're telling me.
it's not something that I would like to partake in,
No. And in all honesty, I wouldn't wish that upon just about anybody.
No, not even my worst enemy. Would not do. Would not.
That I'm my worst enemies. No. But the kind of the weird thing is, I actually I ran into a guy that was having his own issues with demonic influence, and I don't want to go too much into the story or anything because he's not here to defend his side or tell his side of the story. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty intense. And me and him started having like an argument in front of everybody. It got to the point where my friends were pulling me out the room. It's like, you need to go.
Wow.
And in essence, what I was doing, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was actually something really stupid.
Were you provoking?
I was trying to provoke his demon. Yeah. And I didn't realize it at the time that that's what I was doing, but my friends were like, what is wrong with you? And like made me leave.
Right.
And I mean, thankfully, we never brought it up again. We never discussed it again. That was like the one off night, and I just kind of blamed it on me being, having too much to drink or something, which I actually hadn't had anything to drink that night.
Right.
So they're like, okay, you're just being drunk and stupid, whatever. And it's okay. Now that we talk about, evil entities and spirits and stuff, if, say, I had a house, what would be some of the signs that I could look for to tell whether the entity that's in my home, is it going to be something that I'm afraid of, or is it something that, you can live with, that just is there?
I think one thing that you could actually feel is just the negativity, the depression, the oppression, the just the feeling of gloom and doom all the time, just that.
Right.
And eventually it does take a toll on you, physically and emotionally. Some people say, they have a smell, like a sulfuric
Right.
smell or a rotten smell as well. Um, marks, leaving
Scratch marks.
scratch marks, bruising
Gotcha.
to that point. Even maybe animals, being affected as well.
Right. Yeah.
Especially when moods change. So if you're a happy-go-lucky person and you move into this house and all of a sudden you're not so happy-go-lucky, your moods change drastically and dramatically.
And the
That
funny
could
thing
be
is,
a telltale sign as well.
it might not just be you moving into a house. You could have brought a piece of furniture in.
Right.
You could have bought something at like an antique store or gotten it from a friend or a family member and not known that something's attached to it. But shortly after you bring it into that house, this stuff starts happening.
Right.
And the hard part is sometimes it lays dormant for like a couple of months. And you don't know if it, hey, well, I brought that in, but I also got this, I got that. And you don't know exactly what's causing it.
And and you say lying and dormant, it may be just waiting for that right time, that right moment of weakness, because that's what it feeds on, is the weakness of us. And I think it lays that dormant till it's that right timing.
Yeah.
That moment or that second of weakness,
And I mean, it could also be like it's looking for, like you said, the right moment to attack, because it wants to know it's gonna go after the weakest person.
Right.
It's gonna wait until it finds out which one is the weakest person, which person has the least amount of willpower that I can whittle down and be able to cause the most chaos with.
Right. And it also too, it could also be, one that professes their faith, maybe.
Yeah.
And and it's almost like a challenge.
Yeah.
To have those challenges. We know that Jesus, his 40 days in the desert, whatnot. Satan was there to provoke him into doing things that he normally would not do.
Right.
So he had a spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
As well.
I mean, the story that comes to my mind about this is when you start talking about something as far as challenging a religious person or challenging something that's like, it's sort of like a trophy. Hey,
right.
This is what I'm going after because it's going to be the hardest challenge for me.
Right.
I mean, if you look at like the story of the exorcism of Emily Rose, her and her family were super, super religious.
Right.
And she goes into a city college, and it's not until she's exposed to the outside world that she comes in contact with this demon, evil entity that eventually possesses her. And long story short, with that one, she ends up getting possessed. She ends up dying. And they tried to pin it on the priest that was doing the exorcism, and it became a whole big hoopla.
Right. And in that case, I truly believe that was a true possession.
Oh yeah,
with that one, just looking at the photos and reading on it, I do truly believe that was a true possession. And I do think people do get possessed or heavily influenced. With things, by the evilness of things.
I will say this from experience. There has been times that, not here recently, but like in the past when I was younger, I'd have stuff pop into my head and I'm like, where did that come from? And it was something that was totally out of character for me, but it was like straight up like evil thought. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not.
Right.
And just kind of have to work around it because it's like, and what I think it is and what I, what I kind of feel like it's that old entity still kind of saying, "Hey, I'm still here.
Right.
Let me test you and see when I have a chance to come back and do something with you."
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, thankfully, I haven't had anything like that in years.
Right.
But yeah, it's something scary that just kind of hangs around. Now that we have some signs of something that we'd be concerned about, um, some signs of things that maybe you shouldn't worry about it. You know, like an entity that you wouldn't really worry about, like, you know, maybe someone closing a door every now and then, or
Right.
knocking on the wall, or
Seeing an apparition, or
right,
because a lot of people ask me, "Oh, do you deal with a lot of the evilness?" And I will say I have not encountered any evilness thus far. I have encountered entities that were very, very negative,
right,
and they had a miserable life,
right,
and they can't, for whatever reason, have not passed over, have not done what they need to do in order to cross over, and they are very heavily. Now they can stick around and cause the same thing,
right, right.
that negativity as well.
But
But it's a different. It's different.
right,
It's not.
and an evil entity in that source is not as hard to get rid of as a demonic.
Right, because
entity.
a demonic, you got to load up all the guns, the priest, the holy water,
Yeah.
it's a whole, it's like a community trying
Right.
to expel this one out.
And I got a question digging into that, but this is going to take a whole nother episode in order to do this. It's like, out of all the religions out there,
Mhm.
why is it when it comes to demonic, the first one everybody turns to is Catholic?
I think
Dead
because,
silence.
right? Maybe because they outwardly say that they do that.
Well, I mean, not so much here in the U.S., but they do talk about it in third world countries, and
Mhm.
I've heard enough stories to know that they have an actual program to where they train demonologists and stuff
Right.
and how to deal with exorcism. But it's still like you look at the Baptist religion, and they're like, "You're possessed." Yeah, okay, whatever, son.
Right.
Get down there in that water, get baptized again, and okay, let's go grab a beer. But yeah, like I said, and it's not even the Catholic religion is not even the oldest religion.
No. And I think too, it's what they believe in.
Right.
Some believe just in the Holy Spirit, but don't believe in ghosts or spirits of that sort. Church of Christ, you never talked about stuff like that. Never. Because that just doesn't happen. Yeah, there was the pigs, the demons cast into the pigs, and they went over the cliff. That's about all you heard. And so if you were talking about seeing things, you were kind of deemed, a little cuckoo.
Right.
And so forth. But I think it's just they're more open to it. Maybe it's just that they're more open to it, and they.
Wait, you're saying the Catholic Church is open-minded about anything?
Not anything. No. But when it comes to spiritual.
Why are you looking at me like that, Shane?
Hauntings, yes. I think they're open
I
to
see
that.
the judgmental look on your face staring at me.
No, the Catholic Church is also one of the only quote-unquote Christian entities that has also acknowledged the existence of life beyond this earth.
That's the first I've heard that one.
Yeah, they're the only ones that have acknowledged, to this date that I know of, that have acknowledged there's such a thing as aliens.
Very interesting.
That's something I'll have to look into because I didn't know that one. All right. Anyway, I think that kind of brings it to the end of today's show. I hope we at least gave you some information and shared some information about the black-eyed children and the story about them, and then gave some information about what to look for in case you're concerned if something may be a concern for you in your own home or business or wherever. But yeah, we're definitely going to be doing more shows like this, talking about more different legends throughout Texas and even beyond Texas. I like to start in Texas because I am a full-blood Texan, and we're just better than everybody. No, but I like to look at it because it's close to the home, and it's I can do a little bit more research on it being close to the home and looking up stuff. But yeah, I want to definitely do more shows like this. If you want to see more shows like this, please hit the subscribe button down below. Be sure to download the episode. Leave me a like, leave me a hate, leave me a comment. And if you have any stories or anything that you want to tell me or Natasha, or you want us to talk about, or you have a question about it, leave it in the comment section below. Visit the Facebook page. I do have a website that's up, Presence from the Past. I'm trying to get that fixed. A presence with an S from the past.com. I thought I fixed it, but apparently I didn't.
Oh.
But there's an area on there where you can type in a blog if you want to and leave a comment. But yeah, definitely check those out. And once again, my name is Weldon, and this is Natasha.
Hello.
And we will be trying to do this as often as we can. I'm hoping to do an episode a week. Maybe not. We'll have to kind of get a schedule out there between the two of us. But yeah.
If you need any help, if you're having situations right now as far as things going on in your house that are odd, feel free to call us or go to our website. Really, it's asap.org. asap.org.
You don't even know the website.
No, I sure don't. It's ASAP.
It's asupinc.org.
Oh. That's why I'm not in radio.
Terrible. No, but yeah, that's the website for ASAP. That's the paranormal group that we're a part of, and they're actually an extended family of TAPS. So if you've ever seen that show Ghost Hunters, and they talk about the TAPS family, ASAP is a member of the TAPS family. I just messed that up completely. ASAP is a member of the TAPS family, and we do lots of investigations. We do everything by the book, and we're very, very serious in ASAP about taking care of business.
The oldest group in North Texas, 40 plus years in North Texas.
Oldest group in Texas. I thought it was the oldest group in North America.
I'm not sure, to be
because
honest
we were.
with you.
It was formed in 1973, actually, in New York.
73 or 72?
73.
73. Okay.
Check out my history
Okay.
of ASAP on YouTube.
And I'm one of the directors, and I
Right.
can't remember.
And I'm like,
Second in charge, and I can't remember.
I'm still relatively one of the newest members. We haven't had too many new members after me.
No, Shane.
Oh,
And
Shane
then a new
doesn't
guy,
count. Tim.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyway, if you have anything that you'd like for us to come and check out, look us up. If you have any questions or concerns or want to make a comment, feel free to leave a comment.
Or if you want to share any ghost stories or anything like that, I always love a good ghost story.
Yes, me too.
All right, once again, check us out. Thank you guys for joining us, and until next time.
All right, bye.
Thanks for checking out A Present from the Past. Remember, next time you're staring into the dark, I'll be staring right back at you.